Hello, Yes Community. This is Casey Gibson, the proud principal of Janet L. Young Elementary School, and I'm here to talk to you about our reopening plan. Our reopening plan is actually dictated to us by the Department of Health and the state of California. If you can think back to my talk with Mrs. Gibson or my last-minute 2-minute Monday morning message, I talked about the two different ways we can reopen. The first way is a possible waiver. Our district did submit a waiver to the state, but we have not heard back if that has been approved for our TK through 6th graders to return to school with safety precautions in place. The other way an elementary school can reopen is by maintaining their status in the red tier for 4 consecutive weeks. We were going strong with 2 weeks back to back, but unfortunately we dropped back to purple this past Tuesday. The earliest we would reopen is November 3rd, and then it could go from there. But now you have some tough decisions to make, but we're here for you regardless. We wanted to let you know what it would look like if you chose the hybrid model for your child. First and foremost, masks would be mandatory. This is for all students. What is inconsistent is if face shields will be allowed as a possible mask. As we get more information from the health department, we will keep you updated. Obviously, cleaning and sanitizing would be a huge part of our reopening plan. Our teachers actually have a disinfectant spray that kills germs in 1 minute and dries in 5 minutes. Our custodial staff will be fogging every location every single night. This disinfectant fog creates a bubble around all high-touch surface areas to kill germs. When your child reports to school, if they're on the hybrid model, they will report to a temp check station. We have these stations strategically placed around the campus and by last name to help with social distancing. The first thing that will happen at the station is they will be asked if they have any of the COVID symptoms. With them telling us no, that will move them on to the next step, which is to take their temperature with a no-touch thermometer. If they are below 100 degrees, they then will receive a colored wristband. Each day, there will be a different color, so that will let our staff know they have been checked for that day and they do not have any present symptoms or a present fever at that time. Siblings can wait in line together, and the employee at the temp check station will be in full PPE gear. We also wanted to share with you at this time that in this phase of reopening, parents and volunteers will not be allowed on campus. So you can be with your children at the temp check stations, but after they get cleared to go to their classroom, that will be your chance to give your hugs, wave goodbye, and see them later when you pick them up in a minimum of 2.5 hours. Once the children leave the temp check station, we will have a one-way flow of traffic around our campus. There will be lots of arrows to help them find their way so that they are maintaining social distance as they walk to and from temp stations, break times, buildings, restrooms, etc. In the classroom, this is a potential setup for a classroom, but the desk would be 6 feet apart with a minimum. All students would be facing forward. Backpacks would be used to store individual supplies because there is no sharing of materials, and all students will be in masks, including the teacher. The teacher will be 6 feet away from students unless it is less than 15 minutes to help them individually. If your student by chance needs to use the restroom in the short amount of time they're on campus, they will use a sanitized pen to check out using a restroom checkout sheet so we can refer back to the sheet if we need to do any tracing. The bathrooms will have reminders about how to correctly wash their hands, and we also want to share with you that the bathrooms will be cleaned 3 times a day, not after each student use. We also will kindly ask each parent in the hybrid model to send their child with a water bottle to school because our water fountains will be turned off for sanitary reasons. And what about food? There will be an opportunity to have your child get food, but it will be grab and go style. So the children most likely will be dismissed if it's an AM PM schedule, for example. They'll come by and grab their sack lunch and possible breakfast for the next day, and then they will take it and eat it at home. If we do move towards a schedule where students will be on campus all day, then our lunch routine would be changed. Here's the deal. If you wear a mask, if you stay less than 15 minutes around somebody, and you keep that 6 feet distance and get your temperature checked, you're at a very low risk as you are on our campus. There is a difference now between the health office and the CARES room. The CARES room will be used for anybody who has any COVID symptoms. Take a look at those symptoms. Those symptoms are pretty common in lots of illnesses and even things like asthma or seasonal allergies. We have been directed by the Department of Health that these symptoms need to be treated as COVID symptoms, and it trumps any other illness. If your child comes up with any of these symptoms, such as a runny nose, they will be sent to the CARES room where a full PPE geared up employee will be watching them as they sit socially distanced, maintain their mask wearing, and we will have to have parents pick them up almost immediately. At that point, you'll receive a letter that lets you know when your child can come back to school. This is where it gets a little interesting. If your child has the symptoms and is tested positive, we want them to stay home for 10 days. They have to. But what even gets more complicated is Person B. Person B is all the siblings and other members that live in the household with the symptomatic student. Those people need to stay home for 14 days in addition and after the symptomatic child has stayed home for 10. That's a possible 24 days that students could be out of school. That includes anyone else living in the household. Something to consider. If your child is with us during the hybrid model, this is what it would look like at dismissal time. We would exclude and we would let our bus riders go, our campus club kids go in a strategic fashion, and our walkers go. Those who would be picked up from the loading and unloading zone would come out to the front of the school, sit at a cone with siblings or individually, and as we find out who the driver is in the car, we will make sure that the right family gets matched up with the right siblings as they go home for the day, and we hope to see them in the next day. Here's some things that are still in the works, guys. Campus Club, we don't have much answers on registering and if that will be available. Transportation is only available to those who live out of the 1 mile radius, and their bell schedule is still in the works. I repeat, this is a sample draft sample of a bell schedule. This is a bell schedule, a sample of what it would look like for an AM/PM session. Your family would be assigned an AM or PM session, so they would get their temp checks and stay on campus for a minimum of 2.5 hours, and then you would pick them up. The AM/PM sessions would not be on a request system as they are already predetermined in our attendance district system. Something to consider with us changing to all of these different models is there will be, I repeat, will be teacher changes as this was shared in my previous meetings. It all depends on our numbers. So if somebody chooses online, but more people choose in person, I'm going to need teachers to teach both because I can't have one teacher teach all the different instructional models. Here's the difference between the two instructional models in a table format. Clovis Connect is what your children are currently in right now. Scheduled virtual learning, and hybrid is the opposite. What it looks like with live instruction, an actual teacher. Right now, your children are getting live instruction through Zoom 4 hours a day. And the hybrid model, they'd be getting 2.5 hours a day of live instruction, which would be in person. Independent work time right now is done at home, but right now it's embedded throughout the day with teacher support. What it would look like in hybrid model is it would be 1.5 hours a day of independent time, but the teacher would not be available to support your child during independent time. Here's when the teacher is available. Currently, right now, they're in charge or available to your students for the whole entire 4 hours on Zoom, spread out throughout the day. In the hybrid model, they would only be available to help your child during the 2.5 hours of face-to-face instruction because the opposite time, they're with a different set of students. Teacher availability for parents. Right now, it's technically between 8 and 3, but not during instructional hours, and teachers actually have 24 hours to respond to your requests. If the hybrid model, they would only be available to help parents after 3:30, and again, they have 24 hours to respond. So here's the deal. You're getting a parent survey that's being sent out tomorrow evening, October 19th at 5 p.m., and you have until October 16th at 5 p.m. to make the choice that is best for your children and your family, to bring them back face-to-face hybrid or keep them on as Clovis Connect. I truly appreciate you guys listening to this message, as this is a big plan and a very important plan for people to consider. Just remember, we can only control what we can control. Remember and respect that everyone is in a different mindset right now, and this is not easy for anyone. But one thing's for sure, I promise you we will get through this turbulence together. Well, you guys, this is Pilot Mrs. Gibson signing off from the meeting about reopening. And if you have any questions, please make sure that you reach out to me via email at caseygibson@cusd.com or call the school at 327-0900. Thank you again and have a great evening.